Hello everyone, I invite you to every Friday review of the cryptocurrency market. Let's start by checking the dominance of BTC over the rest of the market, and here we can see that the situation is unchanged. The dominance is hovering around 47%, moving in the sideways trend channel as can be seen in the upper border. At this point, it is worth looking at the CHOP index, which indicates that the energy has been used. However, when we look at the RSI indicator, we can see that we have strongly exceeded the upper limits of the range. Looking at these two values, we can expect a rebound in capital transfer to other altcoins. Now we can move on to marking the places of support in the event of a correction. And here in the first place we have support at 45.5%, then support is at 44.3%, 43.2%, and then 42%. Looking the other way, we will also denote the resistance for BTC dominance, and here we see that significant resistance is at 48.4% at the upper border of the channel. However, when we go higher we can see a rapid increase to around 54.4%. Now let's move on to the Bitcoin dollar chart itself, taking into account the 4-hour time frame. First, we will use blue lines to mark the local channel of the sideways trend, and using the yellow line, we can mark the local downtrend line from which the price went up. Now we can move on to marking the places of support in the event of a correction. And here we see that we have the first support at the price of $28,163, the second support at the level of $27,853, the third support at the price of $27,592, and then it is worth marking the support zone from $27,347 to $26,982. Looking the other way, in a similar way using the fib retracement tool, we can determine the places of resistance. First, we have very strong resistance at $28,419, second resistance at $28,930, and third resistance at $30,427. Please pay attention to the CHOP index, which indicates that most of the energy has been used, but there is still some movement left. The MACD indicator indicates a local uptrend, while the RSI indicates entering the upper part of the range, which can give you a moment of breath or a slight rebound. As the second chart in today's review, we'll be looking at LTC against USDT, also on a 4-hour time frame. First of all, using the yellow line, we can mark the downtrend line from which the price went up, while locally, we can mark the uptrend channel in which the price is currently holding with blue lines. Now let's move on to marking the places of support. We will use the fib retracement tool to mark the support, and as you can see, we have the first support at $88.69. Then we can mark the support zone from $86 to $84. However, when the price falls below this zone, we can see a drop around the support at $76.77. Looking the other way, we can also mark the places where the price should encounter resistance on the way to increases. And here, the first resistance that LTC is fighting is at $90.09. The next resistance is at $96.98, and then the third resistance at $105.58. The CHOP index indicates that the energy is slowly gaining strength. The MACD indicator indicates a local downtrend. On the other hand, on the RSI, after a slight rebound, we have room for growth. When the price breaks the current resistance, we can see an attack on the second resistance. Now let's move on to the last DOT chart in today's chart and pair to USDT on a one-day time frame. First, we will use the yellow line to mark the downtrend line from which the price went up. Moving on, we can move on to marking support areas when we start a larger correction. And here we see that the price is just below the first support. Then we have a support zone from $6.11 to $5.93 in front of the price. Third support at $5.74, and then fourth support at $5.49. Looking the other way, we see first resistance at $6.53, then second resistance at $6.86, then third resistance at $7.32. It is worth paying attention to the EMA cross 10 and 30. We can see that the red line of the EMA cross 10 is moving just below the EMA cross 30. The crossing of the green line by the red line can confirm the change of the trend to an uptrend. Please look at the CHOP index, which indicates that we have a lot of energy for the upcoming move. The MACD indicates that we have entered an uptrend, while the RSI has left the downtrend. Technical analysis is provided by a third party and for informational purposes only. It does not reflect the views of CryptoDaily, nor is it intended to be used as legal, tax, investment, or financial advice.